phones are off.
Oh, my phone is on. It's on vibrate.
Silent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, now I need to use the bathroom.
I know.
Thanks, Shoshana.
There's no way around it.
I'm gonna need to take 5.
Does that say 12?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That really holds alive.
She was like, it
Let's
probably
just
is
stop.
only gonna be like
Let's
a
just
second.
Here we are on the Festival Daily Buzz, recording out of the Treasure Mountain Inn, talking to films at Sundance and SLAMDANCE. My name is John Wildman. I'm the editor-in-chief of FilmsGoneWild.com with the dynamic duo from Bitch Talk, Angela Tabora and Erin Lim. And this segment, we're going to talk about the film Cisco Kid, which is screening at SLAMDANCE. And we have the director, Kaye. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
All right. We start each episode with our filmmaker introducing our audience to the film. So tell us about Cisco Kid.
Okay. Cisco Kid is about a young queer person who moves into a desert ghost town in southern Utah, determined to live an unconventional and independent life.
Yes, I love Eileen. First thing I'm going to do when I go home is make a sign for my window that says "fuck off." My inspiration. But I really like how you. I'm assuming it's you. I can hear you laughing sometimes in some scenes in reaction to that. I really like that touch because Eileen doesn't seem like the type of person that would roll with a camera crew and have this film. So it seems just a lot more intimate that it's Eileen and a friend of, behind the camera. So was that intentional or did that happen in post?
It didn't happen in post. It wasn't what I expected when I was imagining what the film might be like before I went out there. I imagined a very quiet, more observational, I guess, style film, and Eileen's very talkative and dynamic, and I thought, well, that's fine, we'll just go with it, and I'll have to be a character in some ways, even though I'm not in front of the camera. But, that is kind of in line with verite style, and I just thought it was fine. So, yeah.
There are some harrowing moments throughout the filming of this doc. Were there moments where you felt you needed to intervene? I'm speaking of a very specific scene, but that you needed to help Eileen, or were you just like, well, this is what's going to happen, and it's kind of, it's gold?
I'm guessing you're talking about going down in the well?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, really?
I know. Well, I set up the show. I sat there filming, and I thought, okay, if Eileen really needs me, I'll drop the camera. But they were fine. They just had to get through it. I think they needed me there psychologically to kind of help them feel comfortable about going down into this dark. I think it's a cistern, actually, but I think Eileen thought it was a well. So I didn't do anything, but I was ready to, but luckily it was all fine.
Got a hard hat on, ready to...
Yeah. It was really also hard, but I'm glad I did it to keep that same framing and not kind of move around, I guess. But I think it worked out well in the end.
I will take this moment to do the admission that, of course, I'm working on behalf of this film as a publicist. So I obviously love this film a lot, as I've told you on frequent conversations. But one thing we haven't talked about, and I love asking documentary filmmakers about this, is that moment where you discover what your film really is. Because you start off oftentimes with an idea of, in this case, I'm going to follow Eileen, we're doing this thing, see what Eileen is doing and what have you. And then sometimes, during filming, sometimes during editing, that you go, oh, this is the movie, this moment. And I love having filmmakers talk about that, because that eureka moment is always pretty special. Can you talk about that?
Sure. I don't know if it happened in one moment, but I think in the beginning I thought this might be a short film. But I really wanted to show time pass, and I felt like that was an important aspect to the film, and I kept going out, and over that time I thought my partner, who's also my producer, who's also an editor normally, she was like, no, this is a feature. And I kept sort of denying it, but working in the way of a feature. Like the way I was editing and the way things were unfolding definitely fit more within a feature. And I thought, oh, you know what, she's right. And I think as far as knowing what the film's about, it kind of just unfolded slowly. I think I started to see themes and started to just think, okay, I need to keep going back and show time pass and show how the landscape's affecting Eileen, in addition to how Eileen's affecting the landscape, and that kind of became a big part of the story. So
I'd just also like to follow up really quickly on your sense of responsibility toward Eileen, because that's something that both you and Shannon, producer, impressed upon me multiple times in terms of using they them, and and being respectful and being very careful on that, and which is, of course, absolutely admirable and very impressive. But as a filmmaker, sometimes our relationship with our subjects can kind of get into a gray area, either with friendships or this protective, kind of thought toward them. And yet we need to be a filmmaker. We need to still view it as a subject. Can you discuss that a little bit?
Yeah, I think for me it's really important to maintain a trust with the person you're filming or working with. I mean, it's a really vulnerable position to be in, to let someone film you. And I think that just was most important to me. I think, I let Eileen watch sort of the fine cut, and I thought, if there's something they really are not happy with, we'll have a discussion about it, and if they're still unhappy, then I'm going to take it out. And I don't know that, I know that that's not always the case, and it can't work out that way all the time, but it was, for this film, I thought, this isn't, I can do that with this film. I don't have to, it doesn't have to be this one thing, and I really want Eileen to feel good about it, and then I'll feel good about it, and so, yeah, that was important to me. And we did develop a friendship, we didn't know each other in the beginning, but we developed one over time, so.
I am really glad you're talking about kind of being the guardian of Eileen's story, because the great irony for me of this movie was when people hear their story, it's like, you're living alone in a ghost town, that's so scary. But the truth of the matter is, when people come to the land, that's when they're in the most danger, seemingly, right? So were you ever nervous, or was Eileen ever nervous that maybe this film coming out is going to encourage more people to come and try to mess with the land, or maybe it'll encourage people to go to this Airbnb, which I am definitely in. I knew you would want to go with me. Yeah.
Booking right away.
Well, it's funny because I think in the beginning I was a little more worried about that, about naming the town. I was a little worried, would that make things more dangerous or whatever for Eileen. And at first I wasn't going to, but then Eileen started to do some interviews with people. I mean, quite a few people who work in media of some sort have taken interest in Eileen while I was filming. And so there were a few little articles written, or Vice did a thing. And once they did that, I was like, well,
yeah, I guess all in.
I guess it's fine. And it's up to Eileen, And so if Eileen is okay with that, then I won't worry too much about it. And then, yeah, the as far as getting more traffic to Airbnb, I hope so, but they've had some problems with Airbnb in general, because Airbnb.
Because it's Airbnb.
Yeah. So who knows? But yeah, I think I'm sure there's ways in which that attention has made Eileen more vulnerable, but also at the same time has maybe drawn some people to Eileen that have ended up being good people for them to have in their life. So it's a mixed bag. Yeah.
Well, I'm curious to the story of how you found Eileen, because I think at the beginning of this film, it felt like they didn't really want to be found, and I want to know how they said yes. And yes, of course you can film my whole story. Fine, totally fine.
Yeah. Well, it kind of, I'm friends with Eileen's sister, and so before I knew Eileen, I knew Eileen's sister, and we were talking, and I was saying how much I miss the landscape of Utah, and I would love to do a project there, but I don't know what it would be. And Renee said, oh, Eileen just moved into a ghost town, my sister.
Funny you should mention that. Here you go. Wow.
I know.
Dropped in your lap.
I know. And I was like, well, all right. So can I get their number? And I did. And we hit it off. We talked for like 2 hours, and it felt good. And, and I just said, let's just see. I'll come out if at any point this doesn't feel good. We'll stop, and that's how it happened, and it worked out. So yeah, I think Eileen partially is a very kind of just wants to do their own thing and not be bothered, but at the same time, they do love people, and I think it's just. There's a little bit of some contradictions there, but also they're human. I think sometimes they don't want people to come in and just like take a photo and leave. They want a certain level of respect and common ground or something like that. So yeah.
The film is already getting some nice notices, and one of the things that a lot of people are pointing out is the cinematography of the film. That there's a nice groundswell of people really, really being into how the film was shot. It's your directorial debut. You also shot it, and when you're shooting a documentary, of course, you're trying to get information, and you're not always thinking, "Oh, this is a beautiful shot," or they have this. Talk about you shooting the film.
Okay. Yeah. I have a background in photography, and so I kind of got into film that way, I guess. But it's funny because in the beginning I thought, oh, maybe I'm not doing this right because I'm thinking about the shots first. But then, then you start to get into it more and also get used to the scenery and kind of then focus a little more on the story. But I just really wanted to have the landscape be as much of a character as Eileen. And in my mind, I thought, okay, vast, open desert space. I want to film it as much as possible on a locked-off shot, very still, and incorporate a lot of wide shots to kind of hopefully have the viewer feel that space, feel that openness, and so that was the approach.
Well, again, the title of the film is Cisco Kid, and of course, I'm a huge fan of it. But but others are as well. And again, screening at SLAMDANCE, and we've been talking to the director, Emily Kaye Allen. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank
that
you.
was great. We miss Eileen though.
I know.
I was like, John, is Eileen gonna be here?
I wish they were gonna be here. We were planning it, and we were gonna get them a ticket. They happen to not be in Utah at this moment. They're in.
Oh, yeah. Very
closer to us.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where
Well,
San
we're
Francisco.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they started seeing someone who
Oh.
was like a friend of a friend passed through. They hit it off.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Someone out of nowhere can find someone.
Right.
Why is this about me?
Anyways, yeah.
First of all, I'm not looking to be found. Anyway, finish your story. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry about that rude interruption.